Alright, cursed games. Coming in at number 10, we have Charlie Charlie. So the Charlie Charlie challenge is adapted from a Spanish paper and pencil game called Juego de la Persia, the pencil game. I probably murdered that Spanish. Basically, the premise of the game is to balance pencils on top of one another with no and yes written in the squares. Teenagers then call upon an alleged Mexican demon called Charlie. Players of the game say something like, "Charlie, Charlie, are you here?" The pencil then moves and people freak out. Why do the pencils move? Clearly because a demon has been summoned, not because of friction and gravity. There are a lot of videos of people playing the Charlie Charlie game, and it almost always ends with screaming and running. Many YouTubers find themselves doing the challenge and they've garnered millions of views. Is it real? Well, according to Mexican historians, there is no demon called Charlie. But I don't know, any game that encourages summoning a demon makes me feel pretty sketchy. Coming in at number 9, we have Sad Satan. Sad Satan is allegedly a cursed video game found on the dark web. YouTube channel Obscure Horror Corner lived up to their name when they shared a scary screenplay of the game on their YouTube channel, and honestly, it looks really intense. To be honest, it also sounds pretty intense, and I don't like that. The player is walking down a dark alley and horrible radio signals start coming through. During the gameplay, from time to time, a blank screen would appear with strange markings. Reddit users decoded the font and said that it was saying things like "kill, kill, kill," and "I can track you." Finally, at the end of the game, it cuts to a black screen in which the phrase "suffering doesn't end" appears. Great! So basically, this doesn't sound too good to me. I'll probably give playing this one a solid miss. Coming in at number 8, we have The Three Kings. I first heard about The Three Kings when I investigated the No Sleep subreddit, and apparently it is actually a very popular game these days. To be honest, popular or not, I don't like the sound of it. No, no, no. What you need to play the game is a large room, preferably a basement with no light source. You're supposed to set up this space with 2 full-length mirrors, 3 chairs, and an item from your childhood. Once you're done with the setup, you're supposed to go to bed and set your alarm for 3:30 AM. At exactly 3:30, you're supposed to then get up. Now, you can only play if when you go back to the large room you prepared, nothing has changed. If anything has moved or changed, this is a warning not to play that evening. You must sit in one of the 3 chairs at exactly 3:33 AM with a candle lit. Once seated, you've got to look straight ahead into the darkness and never look into the mirrors or the candle. At this point, you should see or hear a presence. Some people say that you'll begin to have a conversation with a king, a queen, or a fool. It's complicated, but apparently when playing this game it is possible to get stuck in an alternate dimension, because sure. Coming into number 7, we have Midnight Man. According to a creepypasta I read, the Midnight Man game dates back to an old pagan ritual and essentially is a game to summon a spirit. The game is played by a person writing their name on a piece of paper, pricking their finger to produce a small drop of blood on the paper, lighting a candle and taping the paper with your name on it to a wooden door. Now, the door has to be wooden. Timing is important in this game. You have to knock on the door 22 times with the last knock coming at the stroke of midnight. The person then opens the door, blows out the candle, closes the door and relights the candle quickly. This apparently means that the Midnight Man is now in your house. Your job is to then avoid being caught by the Midnight Man, who will scare you until 3:33 AM. Sounds like all of the fun I'd rather not be having. Coming in at number 6, we have Polybius. Polybius is a legendary arcade game and nobody knows if stories about it are true or simply the stuff of gaming urban legend. The story seems to have emerged in the year 2000 in Portland, Oregon, and suggests some kind of government conspiracy. Basically, the story goes that a black box arcade game started showing up in arcades across the city. Now, the game didn't have any branding, it was simply black and mysterious, but people were intrigued and played it anyway. The game seemed to involve geometric patterns and eye-wateringly bright, colourful shapes. It seemed like the game was hypnotizing people, making them sick, or in some cases, even making them disappear. After gamers played, men in black suits were seen servicing the machine, which led to rumours that it was part of the CIA's MK Ultra mind control pursuits. Storytellers named the game Polybius after a Greek historian who said that you should never report what you can't verify. Whether or not the story is true, it has become part of pop culture, with The Simpsons placing a Polybius machine in the background of a scene in 2006. Would you guys play it? let me know. Coming in at number 5, we have Pokemon's Lavender Town. Pokemon has a lot of wildly popular games, but did you know that part of Pokemon Red and Green might be cursed? The music that plays in Lavender Town in the game not only matches the weirdly trippy purple graphics, but allegedly sparked an alarming number of child suicides in Japan. The music is undoubtedly spooky. Horror blog Bloody Disgusting hailed it as one of the most terrifying childhood memories for gamers. In terms of the music, the chords are very jarring, but I have to say, it is weirdly calm. Whatever is going on, like even if it's cursed or not, I don't really want to listen to that music for very long. It kind of gets inside your brain. According to a creepypasta that surfaced in 2010, the music compelled over 100 Japanese children to kill themselves, leaving others with weird behavioral outbursts. Others suffered simple things like nosebleeds and headaches. Either way, I don't like it. This whole phenomenon became known as Lavender Town Syndrome. So the legend may have some scientific truth. Apparently the high-pitched binaural beats tapped into the brains of children in a way that could affect their moods. It seems that Pokemon themselves were even worried. They've re-recorded the music for the 2017 Pokemon Go Halloween special, so maybe Pokemon bosses were trying to lift the curse, or maybe they fancied something new. I love a good board game, but you would not catch me playing with an Ouija board anytime soon. Now that's coming in at number 4. Ouija boards are totally messed up. I'm sure you know what they are, but for those of you that don't, it's a board with letters of the alphabet on it, as well as yes and no in the top corners, numbers, the words goodbye, and assorted symbols and graphics surrounding the board. Now the board is used to communicate with spirits, although it originated as an American parlor game. Some spiritual believers will tell you that playing with an Ouija board to contact the dead can lead to demonic possessions, which doesn't sound ideal. Ooh, maybe we should do the top 10 scary Ouija board stories. I'm so down for that. Coming into number 3, we have a classic game. We've got Bloody Mary. Bloody Mary is a quintessential game from our childhoods, but that doesn't mean I'd recommend playing it ever. Is it kids just freaking each other out, or is it a cursed game? Bloody Mary is said to appear in a mirror when her name is chanted. Now back in old folklore, the ritual was used to show a woman a glimpse of their future husband's face, although if they saw the Grim Reaper instead of their husband, it would mean that they would likely die before they got the chance to marry. In modern times, the legend goes that if you summon Bloody Mary, she will scratch out your eyes, steal your soul, drink your blood, or at the very least scream at you. There is a similar game legend called Hanako-san in Japan. Speaking of Japan, next up you should never play Hitori Kakurunbo. This is coming in at number 2, and this is basically a Japanese hide and seek game, but you play it alone, or alone with a spirit. So what you need to play this game is a stuffed animal with arms and legs. It has to have a name, for example, Twinkle. Sadly, you cut Twinkle open, removing all of the stuffing and replacing it with rice and some fingernail clippings. Yum. You then sew up Twinkle back again, wrapping the leftover thread around the toy's body. You then put the stuffed toy in the bath and say, for the first game, I am going to be it. Then you close your eyes, count to 10, then you're supposed to stab the toy and say I won. Still with me? You then announce that the toy is going to be it next, and you go and hide. For some reason, it's very important that you hide with a glass of salt water, and if you feel scared, you have to put some of that salt water in your mouth. When the game is over and the toy hasn't found you in an hour or over, you go back, spit the salt water on the toy, and burn it. Sounds like a lot of hassle to me, and to be honest, I'd rather play Catan. At number 10, this game killed 500,000 people. It's Bo. Bo was a board game that involved a 14-face dice and some serious strategy. Bo was an absolute banger of the Han Dynasty, so we're talking 206 BC to around 220 AD. This is a long time for a game to be surviving and thriving. Bo lost its popularity when it led to a whole host of untimely deaths. Bo hasn't been played in 1,500 years as a result. So basically, here's the story why. 2 ancient Chinese kingdoms were brought together when 2 men played Bo together. Louis Shan played Prince Kui, but as Shan won the game, Kui got very angry and threw the heavy board at the visitor's head, killing him. This was enough to anger Shan's father, who declared war on the kingdom, marching 500,000 troops towards the capital. What ensued was a bloody war that killed hundreds of thousands of soldiers and civilians, and well, since then the game has basically been retired. probably for the best. Coming in at number 9, we have EA's Madden NFL. I have to say that I've never actually played this game. I've played PES, but that's like football. The NFL is the National Football League, one of America's favourite sports leagues to watch. This game allows players to play as their favourite North American sports stars on the PS4 and Xbox. So this game is not so much cursed for the people at home that play it than it is for the people unlucky enough to have been on the cover of it. The game came out in 1999, and over the past 19 years, 15 of the cover stars have befallen injury or misfortune in some unexpected way. This list includes Barry Sanders, Michael Vick, and Rob Gronkowski. The rumours of the game were so strong that EA have even publicly denied that there's a curse, and I feel like once they mention the curse, there's definitely a curse. Doesn't make me feel any better. Okay, next up at number 8, this game has driven people mad. We have $10,000 magic squares. If you like difficult puzzles, you'll probably have heard of, if not even played with, magic square puzzles. These puzzles work by each direction of squares in a line creating the same sum. Now it works very well with 4x4, 5x5, 6x6, 7x7, so on and so forth. But at the moment nobody has been able to create a 3x3 magic square that works. In 1996, Martin Gardner, a mathematician, offered $10,000 to anyone who could generate one, but well over 20 years later, nobody's been able to do it. Many have tried and they've literally sent themselves doolally in the process. $10,000 or your sanity? I know which I'd prefer. Coming in at number 7, we have Lady Spades. Lady Spades is kind of like a Bloody Mary, but actually worse. The idea with Lady Spades is also to summon an angry, probably dead woman, although Lady Spades does come with a bit of a positive. If you manage to successfully summon the spirit, you can make a wish. But like with all occult games and assorted demonic summonings, Lady Spades comes with a few cons too. If you in any way annoy or upset the spirit, not only will she not grant you your wish, she will make the opposite happen, and she may even possibly haunt you, so probably not worth the risk. The stakes with Lady Spades are pretty high, and I'd have to say, I don't want to dig with them. Coming in at number 6, we have Taboo the Sixth Sense. There is a reason that Taboo the Sixth Sense was taken off the shelf, and that reason is it was probably cursed. In 1988, the game was for the NES console and was kind of like a tarot reading, future predicting game. Players would enter their name, an age, and a question, and it was kind of maybe like a bit more of an in-detail Death Clock or Magic 8 Ball combined. This game would predict your future by giving you a videographic tarot reading. It seems that there might have been something more mystical going on here though, as the game reportedly accurately predicted the tragic deaths of some of its young players. Also, can we just listen to the opening music? Like, clearly this game is cursed. Again, let's have a listen to the music when the tarots are being shuffled. I don't like it, not one bit. Number 5, we have Tunnels. Tunnels is another mirror game, and by now you should basically know that all mirror games are pretty damn cursed. For this one, you're supposed to set up 2 big mirrors facing one another and stand in the middle. So basically, you stand in the middle looking into the front facing mirror and counting how many frames you can see over your shoulder in your reflection. Like mirror after mirror after mirror after mirror. It's probably enough to send you mad by actually just looking at yourself reflected that many times. Anyway, you're supposed to look out for movement in the frames, as many of the yous reflected are thought to reflect yous from other dimensions. It's all a bit mind-bending. But basically, so it goes, one of the versions of you may bring something bad from their dimension. You don't want to summon that kind of thing, and also, you may now exist in this world and be good, but you might not be good in all of the universes, so probably best to just leave this one alone. Coming into number 4, we have the Voodoo Doll board game. Whose idea was it to invent a Voodoo Doll board game? I'm honestly not sure black magic lends itself to gaming. Many believers in voodoo magic will tell you that actually it's not something to be toyed with. Nonetheless, Kappa Games have brought out a game not so ironically called Cursed that includes 4 voodoo dolls that lets you place curses on other players. Now the game is part card, part pin in effigy. Classic. If you have the fewest pins in your voodoo doll when someone reaches 10 pins, then you become the voodoo king or queen and you win. While this does sound like good harmless fun, and actually I now have to admit I kinda wanna play it, I'm not sure that we should be messing with voodoo. Coming into number 3, we have an online game called White Enamel. So White Enamel is clearly cursed, or haunted, or both. At this point it's pretty much of a much, right? There's definitely some bad juju here and I don't want to be a part of it. So this web point and click seems to be some kind of horrifying online game or interactive movie or something. I just don't like it. When the site launches, you're overlooking a town. You can then explore parts of it, and it seems to be a sprawling mental asylum with scary sounds and scary rooms. There is one part where you can draw on the walls in blood. Also, the page loading screens are needles that lose fluids as if we the viewer are being injected. I don't like that. Don't inject me. Stay away from me. When on this website, I noticed that my browser was telling me that it was not secure, so either this game will curse you or curse your computer in the form of a virus. Either way, I think I'm good. I'm just gonna stay away from this one. Coming in at number 2, we have Yahtzee. You might not know this, but Yahtzee is one of the top board games to cause domestic violence. There have been a number of Yahtzee related bust-ups and even some deaths. For those of you unfamiliar with Yahtzee, it is a random chance dice roll game in 13 rounds. 13. This is a pretty cursed number if I ever heard one. Basically, it seems like this game evokes a lot of strong feelings. Notably, a 9-year-old called the police when a game of Yahtzee devolved into a brutal fight between his parents. His drunken father hit his wife with a wine bottle, and it seems that she also resorted to violence. The pair were questioned by the police, and when they arrived on the scene, the child was taken away into protective custody. Another Yahtzee game led to a Florida man choking his wife, and another Christmas game of Yahtzee led to the notorious killing of a mother of 3 by her children. They put a bag over her head and then hid her body in the shed over the entirety of winter. So Yahtzee, I don't know, I just don't think it brings out the best in people, and maybe you shouldn't play it. Finally, coming into number 1, this is a bit of a Scottish mystery, and we all know I love a good spooky legend, especially when it comes from Scotland. That's right, at number 1 we have the Lewis Chessmen. I actually love this story, and I love chess, although maybe I wouldn't fancy playing with this set for fear of what would happen to me. So the story goes that in 1831, a high tide exposed a cave on the coast near Uig on the Isle of Lewis off North Scotland. I'd love to be there right now. Scotland. Shout out. In that cave, a local labourer found a chest. Thinking it may contain treasure, he bust it open and found a different kind of treasure. Chess pieces dating back to the 1200s, so a then 600-year-old game. Like, that's pretty intense. The pieces were made from walrus tusk ivory and are very expressive little pieces. The labourer was afraid of them when he saw them, initially running away thinking they were evil fairies. His wife screamed at him and sent him back to retrieve the pieces, which quickly became valued in the community. Sadly, bad luck befell the Highlander who found them. Most of them now sit in the British Museum in London. However, the urban legend goes that guard dogs and police dogs that enter the building will not walk past them. The chess pieces are thought to have come from Norway, so perhaps they have some kind of Viking Norwegian curse hanging over them. I love it. Coming in at number 10, we have Bingo. It might seem like a glorious game for senior citizens, but it turns out that Bingo has been behind a very high number of deaths. Honestly, when I think high drama, I don't tend to think Bingo, but I am wrong. There are far too many instances to even report in this one point, so I'll just mention a few. In 2002, tech worker Brett Keaton managed to hack a Vegas bingo machine into allowing him to play more cards cards than he paid for. When he realized that he had been found out, he committed suicide by jumping from the San Francisco Golden Gate Bridge. In 2012, a 25-year-old woman in the Philippines killed herself the day after losing $400 in bingo. In the same year, a former Marine killed a 65-year-old woman outside a bingo hall in Jacksonville. Because of the demographic of their clientele, bingo halls often are the scenes of death. Old age pensioners sometimes die of heart attacks in the excitement. In 2014, Gala Bingo in the UK came under fire when a game of bingo was played on, despite an 87-year-old woman dying in the middle. Do I really think that bingo is a cursed game? Well, no. I actually think it's pretty great, but you should enjoy it responsibly. Coming into number 9, we have Fallout 3. Now this has kind of been disproved, but at the time of release, a lot of people were worried that Fallout 3 was cursed. Why? Well, there was some spooky stuff going on hidden within the game that led a lot of people into thinking that actually it was spookily predicting the future. The conspiracy theory arose when players said that the Morse code that the game is broadcasting in stations was accompanied by a DJ announcer that was saying mysterious things like "the Queen has died today," followed by a bout of Morse code that was translated as a date. Now the Queen's death date was set to be in 2014, but she's still surviving and thriving. If Britney wins an Oscar in 2023 as predicted in the game, then I will officially be worried again. Game designers Beth Desser have denied that there are any hidden messages in the game, but all it takes is one twisted game designer and who knows? Speaking of twisted game designers, is that what's going on here? At number 8, we have Killswitch. If the urban legends are to be believed, Killswitch was a game created by Russians in the Soviet Union era. It is said that between 5,000 to 10,000 copies of the game were released in the dwindling days of the Soviet in 1989. The game was a horror game in which you had to battle demons and monsters in an abandoned coal mine. How very Soviet Union. Allegedly, no one ever proved that they completed the game, as when you were done, it would magically delete itself from your computer. Weird. In 2005, the rumor goes that an unopened copy cropped up in Japan. Now this was played by Yamamoto Ryuichi. I'm really sorry if I butchered that. Ryuichi set up a YouTube channel to document his own gameplay, but unfortunately, he only ever made one video. This was a video of him staring at his computer and crying. That is the last we have ever seen or heard from him. Was the game cursed? Who knows? Alright, coming in at number 7 we have Jumanji. Did I want to add a fun one to the middle of this list, or is making 3 parts of this video a bit of a stretch? You decide. For the purposes of this video, I actually wish that there was a real-life Jumanji. Jumanji the movie was originally released in 1995, but saw a revamp in 2017. Now in the original, 2 kids find a magical board game, a cursed magical board game that unleashes a plague of dangers that can only be stopped by completing the game. I loved this movie as a kid, and my lasting image was when they all get swallowed up by the floor. Me and my sister used to play that on our living room floor. I'm gonna go out there and say actually, this is one of the best movies of the 90s. There, I said it. In 2017, the cursed game was a video game, which somehow in my opinion I think is a little bit less cool. The original board game looked pretty awesome. You can actually buy the Jumanji board game these days in like Walmart, etc. I don't think it's actually cursed, but you know, we'll see. Coming in at number 6, we have Berserk. The legend of Berserk is the top video game urban legend, isn't it? I'm surprised we haven't actually even mentioned it in this list before. Berserk is a classic arcade era game that lets you battle robots, which, you know, cool. Hurrah for robots. Less on the hurrah side of things, because actually the game is the first ever video game to be linked to the death of a human. I love how I said that like loads have been linked to deaths of animals. Anyway, in 1981, Jeff Daly died playing the game. Now just 1 year later, a young, healthy 18-year-old dropped dead in front of the machine. Peter Borowski had set a new high score for the game, and as he stepped away, proud of his achievement, he dropped down dead. Both deaths were ruled as heart attacks, and you can imagine what the headlines in the 80s were like. A good number of people actually did start to think that Berserk was cursed and they just wouldn't play it. Okay, a game that I don't think I'd ever play. Coming into number 5, we have Virtual Girlfriend. There are many reasons not to play Virtual Girlfriend, the game that illegally used Mia Khalifa as a cover girl. 1, like, dude, come on. And 2, it's cursed. By cursed, I mean that the company who made the game made it as a malware scam, and you could end up getting your credit and debit card details stolen. The malware in the game was also able to access phone numbers, contacts, and read your texts. Since the dawn of the age of the smartphone, surreptitious and illicit companies have been creating dodgy phone games specifically designed to steal data and worse. Ooh, I like this one. Coming in at number 4, we have The Curse of Scotland. Playing cards were invented by the Chinese in around the 9th century. They are the oldest game that we humans are still regularly enjoying. With a long history has come a lot of strange instances with playing cards. On their surface level, card games are instrumental in many gambling games which have tempted people into losing more than they have. While we could consider this to be a curse unto itself, perhaps there is something even deeper going on. The nickname The Curse of Scotland is specifically applied to the 9 of Diamonds card, which is considered to be particularly bad luck. The name is further applied to people who have had spells of bad luck in a number of card games, leading to their misfortune. Have they had the Curse of Scotland bestowed upon them? We have a good old-fashioned Las Vegas legend on the go at number 3. We have the Curse of Megabucks. Megabucks is a game created by International Game Technology and is a Nevada lottery, but also the name of a slot machine popular on the Vegas Strip. The rumors are that if you win big, if you win the Megabucks from Megabucks, you will become cursed. It's said that the majority of players who have become millionaires from Megabucks have died early tragic deaths. One example is Cynthia J. Brennan. She won $34.9 million on the Megabucks machine at the Desert Inn Casino in Vegas in the year 2000. Just 6 weeks later, she was tragically involved in a car crash with her sister. Sadly, her sister was killed instantly, and the jackpot winner needed all of her limbs amputated, leaving her as a quadriplegic. Similar stories of death and misfortune have surrounded other jackpot winners. Sure, you might win big, but would it be worth it? An old favourite at number 2, we have Monopoly. Monopoly. Remember Yahtzee from episode 2? Well, Monopoly is regularly involved in cases of domestic violence. We could talk about all of those cases, but like with Yahtzee, they are plentiful. Instead, I'm going to talk about something perhaps even creepier. Have you ever heard of the Mandela effect? This is where people think that they're living in a different dimension or universe from that which they grow up in. It's called the Mandela effect because of a situation that occurred where some people were in total belief that the equal rights fighter and former president of South Africa died in prison in the 1970s, whereas in actuality he was released from jail and died in 2014. To cut a long story short, this led to a lot of people believing that actually we're living in many different parallel universes. There are loads of examples of this, one of which comes from the humble game of Monopoly. Many people swear that Mr. Monopoly had a monocle, others are equally adamant that he never had one. What do you think? Finally, coming into number 1, this is truly disturbing, we have Momo. This game has a lot of similarities with Blue Whale, but is a different social media game sweeping its curse across the internet. So the game involves texting a mysterious phone number with a terrifying bulgy-eyed bird woman avatar. That doesn't sound too scary, but like, have a look at her. Blah. The mystery number then replies and sends back a series of challenges and disturbing threats, as well as bombarding the user with spooky and often horrifying images. The Civil Guard of Colombia made an announcement demanding that nobody plays Momo or engages with the phone number. They did this in response to the suicides of 2 teenagers who had played the game and received texts demanding that they kill themselves. Unfortunately, the game has also spread across the world, sparking suicides in Argentina and India, and scaring parents and kids alike elsewhere. If you're watching, please do not feel tempted to play Momo. It is a sick and twisted cyberbullying game. Don't engage with it, just stick to chess. I like chess. Or come play Settlers of Catan with me. Good idea.